So today we have to start from directed practice method. Four methods we have completed, and this is the fifth one,
As
directed.
your
Yes.
screen is not visible to me, is it for
Okay.
everyone or to me only?
No, it's visible to us.
Okay,
Maybe
then
Okay,
it's
then
okay.
rejoin. Try
Okay.
again. Okay. So this is directed practice method. In directed practice method, what happens that teacher introduces to the practice in the class, and then teacher asks the students to practice it out of the class for the students. For example, there is some practice, yoga practice, like any asana or any shat kriya. Teacher teacher tells about that practice in the class and then asks the students to do the practice at their home. Assignments for extra practice of selected yogic practices out of the class hours enhance skill and performance levels of the students. So this is the main keyword to understand directed practice method, out of the class practice. Students should be encouraged to do out of the class practice, and the teacher may check the results and give additional suggestions for further practice. And also the success of this method depends upon the motivation of the students and their rapport with the teacher. If uh, if if a student has a good rapport in eyes of the teacher, then then the student will be motivated to do the practice at his or her home. But if there is a student who is not sincere, then he or she will not be much motivated to practice at the home. So is this method clear? Directed practice method.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The next method is project method. The aim of project method is students put into practice what they have learned in the class. In a project method, preparing of models of the yogic practices, planned observation of seminars, conferences, competitions related to yogic activities, visits to different well-known yoga centers helps in this method. So all these things, like preparing models of yogic practices and planned observation, and all these things are part of project method, because from these students learn to put what they have learned in the class. And also the preparing projects, like as you can see in the picture, models, these are also the part of project method. Clear?
yes, ma'am.
Next is demonstration method. In demonstration method, this is non-competitive type performances with emphasis on skill and form. So the emphasis on demonstration method is on skill and form, value for both performer and viewer. So in demonstration method, there it's like a student is demonstrating in front of the class. So the student who is demonstrating is also uh, gives importance to the skill and the form. Means the asana which he or she is demonstrating, the form of that posture should be good, like this. And also it is importance, it has value for viewers also, who are seeing, who are watching that what the one student is doing. An excellent group method, but it has a disadvantage also, that the scope of learning is restricted. So in this method, the demonstrator is only demonstrating what he has learned already, so there is no new learning in this. So that's why the scope of learning is restricted, and it uses the talent which is already existing. So there is no development of any new skill in this method. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now we have studied all the methods of teaching. Now the question might arise in your mind that how to select the best method while teaching yogic practices. Then there is no such clear cut formula which is available for this, but because this thing depends upon which method to select, this thing depends upon the time, space, and what equipments we have. And a good teacher decides that which method he should use. The method of teaching should allow for individual differences and stimulate both creativity and independent thinking in the student. So while selecting method, a teacher should keep in mind individual differences and the method which the teacher is selecting should stimulate creativity as well as independent thinking in the students. Then after the last topic of this chapter is factors of influencing the method. There are 5 factors influencing method are given. First one is content. First factor is content. What is content and how does it affect the method? See, if there are two different subjects, for example, one subject is a practical subject like yoga, and one subject is theoretical like we are reading Upanishads and all these, then the content of both of these subjects is different. So if the content is different, then the method that we will use while teaching, it will also be the different. And then next is previous background and the experience of the student. For example, if there is a student who has some basic knowledge of a concept that the teacher is teaching in the class, and there is a student who has no previous knowledge, no basic knowledge, then the teacher can't teach the advanced knowledge to the student who has no prior knowledge, no basic knowledge. So teacher will use different methods for these two types of students. After this, the first factor is content, second is previous background and experience of the student, then next is teacher itself. Teacher is also a factor that influences the method. Method is not good or bad in itself. It's the teacher. If a good teacher can turn methods in, if the method is in good hands, then the teacher can turn it in a good way of learning. So these are the qualities given of a good teacher. First quality is a genuine interest in communication. Genuine interest in communication. If teacher do not have interest in communication, then he or she won't be able to convey the teaching to students. Love of the work of teaching. These are important qualities. You have to remember all these. A willingness to share interest and experience with others. This is also a quality of a teacher. And adaptability to put him or herself in the position of the student. The capacity for understanding expressed in an open, authentic way without blaming or condemning the students. So the teacher should create such an environment that uh, students feel free to share what they want, to ask anything or whatever. in their mind. Next point is an attractive personality. If teacher has an attractive personality, then students follow what the teacher says. Teaching becomes more effective. The ability to set a good example through lifestyle and behavior. For example, if there is a teacher, there is a yoga teacher who has a uh, who follows a yogic lifestyle and this thing, then the and he has such behavior, then then the students will be more influenced by their teacher. A sense of professional responsibility towards the teacher. And next is a pleasant yet commanding voice. If teacher has just pleasant voice, then this is possible the students might not follow the instructions given by the teacher, but if he or she has pleasant as well as commanding voice, then this is more effective. Next, the awareness that the person in the teacher is more important than the method. Whatever method that we have studied, all teacher is more important than all these methods, because teacher is the one who is using all these methods. These are the qualities of teacher. After this third point, fourth factor is facilities. So in a class there should be good facilities that are required. For example, if teacher is teaching some shat kriya, and uh, there is no water available, or there is not enough space for that thing, then a teacher will feel tensed in such a situation. So facilities, this is also an important factor. Then after this is fifth, scientific principles. In scientific principles, principles like anatomy, physiology, psychology, all of these principles come in this scientific principles. And when you know about all these scientific principles, you can select method accordingly. So these are the 5 factors. If you have any problem in these, you can ask.
Ma'am didn't understand these scientific principles.
You see, the scientific, first understand what are the scientific principles. So there are scientific principles in yoga, like anatomy and yogic principle, the principles that we will study in the next chapter. These principles we will study. These principles also affect the type of method we are using. If you have the knowledge, for example, if you have the knowledge of anatomy, uh, and in anatomy if we see that males and females, then if males and female and age, for example, someone is a child and someone is old aged, then we use different methods for them. In the same way, if males and females, then we can use different methods for them. So this is a factor that influence the method that the teacher is using. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this is our next chapter, sources of teaching. While teaching yoga, the yoga teacher should know about these 5 principles. First one is yogic principle. So let's see yogic principle. Yogic practices. So first tell me that what according to you uh, should be the yogic principles. What principles you should follow? What yogic principles you should follow while doing yoga?
Ma'am, those yamas and niyamas.
Okay. And
Only yogic principles, ma'am.
Yes,
Like
yogic principle.
in yogic principle could be the psychological principle or something. Can we add in it? Like
Psychological is
discipline,
different.
like
Mm.
discipline.
Uh, this is here we are talking about the practically, like you are practically doing yoga practice on your mat. Then what principles you will follow?
For
Like
example, Patanjala Yoga Sutra, it is type of a principle that we have to include in our teaching.
Correct, correct. And you're doing asana practice. Then what principle you will follow at that time of Patanjali ji?
Stiram Sukham Asanam.
Yes, correct. So let's see. Yogic practices are not exercises. So, yogic practices are not exercises. So, while doing yoga, we should avoid doing such vigorous movements. And it means that the practice of yoga should not be hyper violent type. It should be slow. As we studied later, we studied earlier that your asana. Next point in it is also given that asanas are static stretching. So there should be static stretching procedures. Uh, they should be performed slowly and smoothly in order to influence the tonic system rather than phasic one. So the tonic system should be influenced. Tonic system means that it should be slow, and the phasic system means when we do any activity that any dynamic movement, then the phasic muscles are required in that. But when we do any slow or any movement, just a second. Yeah. When we hold any posture, then our tonic muscles are required in that. So while doing yogasanas, there should be we should hold it. That should be static and not dynamic. Slackening of effort is required. Effort should be reduced. Effortless performance and relaxing as much as possible during the final position are the chief characteristics of the technique of asana. So when you are in the final position in any posture, just hold that posture and relax your body, relax your effort at that time. Pranayamic practices are very different in purpose and technique from the breathing exercise. So you tell me how pranayam, what's the difference between pranayam and breathing exercises? Can you hear me?
Yes, madam. Here, focus of concentration will be there, madam. While doing the pranayama, consciously we will be doing the pranayama. Without consciousness, the exercise, that breathing that we are doing.
Correct, correct, correct. And these both pranayama and breathing exercises, these both increase the oxygen uptake, but still there is difference between pranayama and breathing exercises. Yogic practices should not lead to fatigue. So if any activity that is leading to fatigue while you are doing yoga, then that means that you are doing it incorrect. And if you feel fatigued, then you should do relaxation in shavasana while doing your yoga practice. After this, sixth point is all yogic practices should be performed according to one's own capacity and without competition with others. There should be no competition with others. All yogic practices should lead to peace of mind. And if it's not leading towards peace of mind, then that means there is something wrong in the practice. Any yogic routine should begin with psychophysical relaxation, like prayer we do, centering centering one's attention as one would in prayer. So it should begin with psychophysical relaxation. Are these principles clear? Yogic principles.
Yes, Ji.
Okay. Next are psychological principles. Interest is the best motivation for learning. Interest is the best motivation. So a yoga, it's the duty of a yoga teacher to create interest of students in learning. In learning, teacher should teach in such a way that it keeps the students interest in the practice. Complex motor skills require more repetitions of correct practice. So here, this word correct practice and repetitions. When we learn any motor skill, like any motor skill, then repetitions are required. We repeat that thing again and again, and then our muscles get we get the muscle memory and we get used to it. So repetitions are required of correct practice. If the practice is incorrect and you keep repeating it, then there is no point of it. So the practice should be correct, so that if you learn it incorrect in the first time, then at the first time, then you will need to change it, which will be little difficult in later. Learning is a process of experience, so teacher should make the students experience. For example, if there is an uh, if there is a shat karma, and teacher is just teaching students theoretically and not making them experience that practice, then the students won't learn. All learning has a neural basis. Unless proper neuromuscular coordination, motor control through muscle memory is formed, one cannot expect further development in any motor skill. So while learning any motor skill, a neuromuscular coordination is formed, means the muscle memory is formed. uh, Through muscle memory, neuromuscular coordination is formed. You gain control over your muscle when you repeat something again and again, again and again. As in case of driving, it's also a motor skill. So, so until you repeat it again and again, and you gain the muscle memory, you cannot learn that skill. You cannot develop further in that skill. Next point is learning is highly individualized. Learning is highly individualized, uh, and if there is a student who has the previous knowledge and who do not have the previous knowledge, then they learn at different pace. Everyone learn at different pace, and through different methods. So learning is highly individualized, and a yoga teacher should keep this point in mind. Learning of motor skill is has an if the performer is able to grasp an intellectual understanding of the nature of the task before the practice. So before while you are in a yoga class as a teacher, then you should first introduce to the practice that the students have to do in the class, so that it becomes for them easier to have an idea of what they are going to do. And when they have the idea in their mind that what they're going to do, then it will be easier for them. Then our sixth point is regular practice of an activity resulting in pleasure and satisfaction contributes to the most effective learning. When you do something and you get the dopamine rush in the body, then you want to get the dopamine rush. So a teacher should make that activity pleasurable for the students. If they are doing something good, then teacher should encourage them that yes, they can do this. Uh, they are doing good. By doing so, the students get the pleasure and satisfaction. They are encouraged. Occasional short periods of rest between the practice periods produce superior results. So you should take rest between the practice. Next are these principles clear? Psychological principles. Okay, let's move to anatomico physiological principles. Age and sex, these are the two factors that need to be considered in learning process of motor activities. We have studied these two principles, yogic principle and psychological principle. After this, and keep this thing in mind that in which of the principle what is given. In yogic principle, what are the points given? Questions from this can be asked. The examiner can give any point from these and ask which type of principle is it. Is this yogic principle? Is this anatomico physiological principle, or is this educational principle? In the same, learn the points of psychological principle. These are very easy. Just understand it, and these are very easy. So there are some differences in the anatomy and in the anatomy of males and females. Males tends to have stronger bones and structure as compared to females, and females generally have weaker bone structure than men. Why is it so? Because females have more fatty tissue in the body and males have more muscles. That's why they have less fatty tissue. Muscle mass or the bone density in male body is 41.8% of the body weight, and muscle mass in females is 35.8%. The fatty tissue in males is 18.2% of the body weight, and fatty tissue in females is 28.2% of the body weight. More the fat, if someone has the more fat, then it means that they have less muscular strength. More the fat is equal to less efficient muscles, and if the fat is reduced, then it means that they have gained muscular strength. The abdominal wall can be weaker in women due to childbirth, miscarriages, or other reproductive problems. So, due to these reasons, abdominal strength can be less in females. Next point is abdominal muscles play an important role in holding the abdominal viscera in place. That it means that all the organs that are in the abdominal region, the abdominal muscles plays role in holding those. The shorter lumbar and thoracic regions in the female sometimes produce a more pronounced shortening of lower back muscles, resulting in lordosis. Due to this reason, females have lordosis. What's lordosis? In lordosis, there is an exaggerated curvature. Curvature is formed in the lower spine. Inward curvature. Tone of the muscles influence the posture and functions of the bodily. Tone of the muscles influences the posture and functions of the bodily organs. Cultivation of improved muscle tone implies relaxation of undue tension. When someone has a good muscle tone, then they are they are able to relax, they are able to release the tension in the body. When someone has a good muscle tone, then they will have a good posture, and they become aware of their body. When someone become aware of the body, then they are able to release the tension in the body. This is what this point mean. Muscle efficiency is lost during longer periods of inactivity. When you do not do any physical activity for a longer period of time, then it results in loss of muscular efficiency. And for continuing again, when you again start training your body, then you need to go slow. First do low intensity and then move towards higher intensity. Next point is fatigue is not confined exclusively to the particular muscles exercise, but it spreads through the body as a whole to some degree. For example, if you are doing a practice which involves your shoulder strength, then it doesn't mean that and there is fatigue in your shoulders. It doesn't mean that there is only fatigue in your shoulders. The fatigue is in the whole body, and you should try to relax your whole body, not just shoulders. The equilibrium of the body involves, it means that while for balancing of the body, all these are involved: muscular coordination, proper functioning of semicircular canals of the internal ears, eyes, the receptors in the skin, and nerve ending in muscle and ligament around joints. So while you are sitting, standing, or walking, or just you are just standing, then for our body is balanced because of all these areas. And if there is any problem in these parts, like these are not well, something is wrong, then the balance might get disturbed. If there is any disturbance in all these parts, then we might not be able to, our body might not be able to balance to stand or to walk. Next is vigorous movements, more energy consumption, and static movement consume less energy. So, minimum expenditure of energy is the criteria of simplicity and efficiency in any activity. So, in yoga, there is static movement. This is a static activity and it consumes less energy. It means that it is simple, and this yoga is efficient. For vigorous, dynamic, and jerky activities, warm up is needed. But we are not doing any jerky movement in yoga, so warm up is not that much necessary. And in today's time, we also see that some people do Surya Namaskar as warm up. It's Surya Namaskar. There is no need of warm up in yoga because you are not doing any jerky movement, any dynamic movement. The center of gravity in females' body is lower than in males. Uh, the center of gravity means the females have weight in their lower body more. Uh, it means that, for example, there are some asanas, Veerbhadrasana and tree pose. These poses require the strength of the lower body. So a female is able to do these poses much easier. But in males, the center of gravity is in the upper body. So uh, they will be, if we see that males have the strength in their in their upper body, so they will be able to do the posture more easier, like Shirshasana, headstands, handstands, and crow pose, these types of postures. And lower the center of gravity in body, higher the stability. So these are the educational principles. We will do this tomorrow. I I will ask you some questions from the previous class and from today's class. Okay? So that what we have learned gets revised. What are what are the yogic principles? Who will tell? First, if you have any problem in anatomical physiological principles, you can ask. Do you have any problem in anatomical physiological principle or any problem in what we have learned today?